late bloomers.
Yeah, I'm about to say this.
Late bloomers.
Yeah.
Bloomer.
Late bloomer.
Yeah.
Hey. Oh.
Yeah, I'm just gonna press. Yeah, just
Oh.
No, it's easily it could get confused. Yeah, no, late bloomer.
I feel like we're talking about you writing the show and without even, because I know what you're writing, but without even saying it. But late bloomer.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Are you excited? Are you ready?
I am. I think it was like, so this whole past year, it was just like, you're writing it for years, you're trying to develop it for years, and then all of a sudden when it gets picked up and you go into pre-production, it's just like fast, like everything's fast, and you just go through it. And so I think I'm very proud of like what we were able to accomplish, like with like everything that we had, the knowledge that we had, the resources that we had. And like, you know, like this is in America, right? Like when you're making a show in Canada, it's like we don't have the amount of resources, we don't have the amount of people, we don't have like, you know, but we have talent. Like there's so many people that are so talented that want to make good stuff, but a lot of them get shipped off to America, or a lot of them like don't get attached to the right projects. So it was like really nice to make a project where I felt like I was attracting so many people to come onto the project that were like, man, like we're so excited to work for this. Because like when they're excited, then they just go above and beyond.
Yeah,
everybody, almost everyone on our show went above and beyond to make like the best show possible. And like that's like from like all the actors, all the cast, you know, like they were so excited to be a part of something like this. A lot of them weren't even union, you know, we had to go out and like street cast. A lot of people were like stuff we'd seen, or people we'd seen on Instagram, and just like be like audition, and they're like, how do I audition? Like you're like teaching them how to do it. So it's like all these people that have no idea about the space, but I really wanted to tell the most authentic version of the story. So it's like, it wasn't that like union actors, there's so many great union actors, but I'm like, there's in that pool, there's not people that are like real to our experience, because like they've just like us, we made our own space to get there. Like they didn't have that. And so I think that was like one of those things that I wanted to do, even with the show, was like, as a byproduct, you're creating these bridges for people to get involved. And so like you put a cast out to like South Asian, you're looking for this, looking for that, like in the community, you know, you're looking for a Punjabi father this age, like no casting does that. This guy this age, a Sri Lankan Tamil woman at this age, and like people are like, whoa, what, specifically this? It's so like they're getting casted for that. And then like our director Peter was great, our DOP Gail was great, all the writers were great, my showrunner was great, Shab, Luckna, Catherine, Barney, Rahul, Kavi, I forgot a couple. I don't want to forget any names, but I'm just saying, like, everybody that was involved, our set designer, our people that worked on the crew, people that built the sets, like, there was an energy throughout production where, like, everyone felt like we were making something very, like, special, very nice, and, like, very, like, they had, like, it had like a purpose behind it that was like, oh man, like this is something that like we were all in something together, and that was like such a beautiful feeling. Like every day was like so challenging and crazy hard, but the fact that like all of us were like so connected, and we're all in it, and we're all in this shit together, and it's just this crazy shitstorm, and you're just trying to make this level of show with this many resources, and every day is like a problem, like 10 problems that you have to like figure out and solve. But like, when you have good people around you and that want to make cool shit, that are on that same like wavelength, it makes the process so much better, and like so much more richer, and like you feel better. And so like I'm very proud of like everything we were able to do with what we created. Obviously, when you make a show, like your brain has a version of it that you always want, right?
I was gonna ask how much that changed. It's coming from you writing by yourself to
that too. And so you have to like, as a creative that's like always in charge of everything you're doing, right? Then you have like other writers with other perspectives coming into the room, and you don't want to like step on their experiences and perspectives either. So you have to like learn how to like, what if you're controlling like you do everything. We did everything. We wrote, directed, acted, edited, blah blah blah, do the graphics, do the casting, everything.
Fucking cleaned up.
And like you can't do everything on your own. So you have to rely on people and bring good people in that you trust. And so you have to like put that trust in. And it's a scary thing.
Scary,
because you're like, you see it going sideways so many times. You're like, I got you. Yeah, I know exactly what you want. And then you see it, and you're like, this is not what we discussed.
Were you there?
Yeah, were you there? Did you?
This
That was my biggest fear. I was like, man, I don't want that to happen. Like I've been through that experience, but it's just about being thorough. And then that challenged me to communicate better. I was like, I have to communicate exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And tell them that, and then you have to like uplift them, right? Like you just have to trust. Like you give them the tools and be like, yo, I know you're capable of doing this, and then they'll do it. And like everybody's like excelled in exactly what we're trying to do. So obviously there's a version of it in your head that you like are always aiming to create, but you got to start somewhere. And like what we made is like incredible. You know? So it's like it's
Amen.
Yeah, it's a start, and it's like then things just you're creating this machine where it just keeps going and going, and you can do so much more. Yeah,
I was about to say, man, with everything that you did, and like this feeling like not the like this is just a checkpoint.
Yeah,
like this first season is like your checkpoint of you got here, you finished it. Like you clearly like finished all the tasks, you finished all the challenges, you faced the challenges, came through with them. So it's like this is just going to be a ripple effect for you of like. Whatever's next, whether it's writing more shows or more seasons or whatever it is, but it's like you already started it. But it'd be that simple, man. And it's really like 5 years will really pass you up, and you'll be like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Because it's like, how long has it been since you like first came off the internet? Versus
5 years.
Literally 5,
exactly
right?
5 years.
You could have procrastinated and just kept going and kept pushing along with it. And different situation.
Can we talk about the premise of the show? Can we give any of that information out?
So the title is called Late Bloomer, and I think I chose that title because I think everybody in the show is somewhat of a late bloomer. Like they're all going through their journey to like get to a place where they feel like they've grown or evolved. And that was the thing. I heard that term late bloomer, and I was like, I don't know why it stuck with me so much, because I was like, yeah, I feel like that. Like people can look to you and be like, oh yeah, you're no, it's crazy how successful you guys are. You guys have done this and this and this. But it's like then there's a part of you that you feel like hasn't gotten there. Or you haven't grown. So you always feel behind in life, you know, and especially like kids of immigrants. I feel like we're always felt like we're behind. We're like having to do this work that's like you're literally shifting this generation. Like I say, the millennials and Gen Z, even Gen X, I guess to some degree, is like we're the generation that like there was like all this stuff that was taken from us, like from other generations, like all these like traumas that were put on us, all this shit that was like robbed from us, and you know what I mean? Like we became these like developing countries. The only reason we're here is because we, you know, things were not great back from where we're from, and so like you're in this like shift. You know, I feel like generationally we're at this like like this dip now where things are shifting upwards, and we're part of that wave to go upward. Whether it be like, you know, mental health, or whether it be art, whether it be communicating, relationships, whatever, like interpersonal growth, accountability, evolving, all that stuff.
Thinking,
all that's
thinking, everything, you know. And so you're like, oh, like, so that's in the essence what the title Late Bloomer like represents. It's like all these characters. We all feel like we're behind in life. My character in the show feels like he's behind in his life, and he's got to get to a point. He's like, I have to get here because then everything's gonna be okay. So his journey through the show is just like trying to get to this point where everybody is finally, now everyone's happy with me. But like, you know, as the show unfolds, hopefully you'll see like, you know, that there's more to it than that. And so premise of the show: guy in his early 30s that's living at home, not doing much, and becomes and tells his feelings on the internet and becomes an influencer, and then now he's like thrown into this world. But that's just the starting of the show, and then I think it just kind of like is different than that, because I didn't want to make a show where I was like, oh, you know, this is my just rain from the internet.
Oh, I get it.
Like a mouse and a freaking, you know, monitor running with a laptop. I'm like, I don't want to miss that. Like, you know, So I was like, I used that my experiences on the internet as like a vehicle to like set up the story, but I think there's more to it than that. So I think it's just like. The season progression is very interesting, because like when you watch the first episode, you think the first 2 episodes, I was like, you think it's gonna be something, and then there's like a mid-season shift, and then like you're like, oh, the show is like, it's not what I thought it was. I think I don't know how it's gonna be received.
Do you have a favorite episode? Is that possible?
Ah, man. I don't know. They're all so individually something thematically or talking about something. It's very interesting. But I think the episode that it was the most challenging and I had the most fun, and it probably asked a lot of me, was episode 7. So I think that's like I wouldn't say it's my favorite. They're all my favorite, but I think that was the one that was the most challenging for me to do. And like when I watch it back, I'm like, oof, like this is a
nice. Wow,
this is a beautiful episode. Like, and on paper, you think it's gonna be something, and then you see it, you're like, it's a very interesting process. But they're all so just great. And then the writers, when they came in, they brought their experiences and they all connected to the stories, and so they did added so much to it as well.
Like
so
the nuances and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's just a collaboration, right? You bring the ship. That's like, you're like, oh, I built the ship, and then people come in and then they'll add like a mast, they'll add a sail, they'll add a paint job. Like, you know what? This steering wheel's better if we use this steering. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. So you're like, then you're doing that, and then you teach them too, and they're like, oh, what about this? I'm like, oh, no, but this has to be this. Don't put it there. Don't put it there. Oh, these tricks don't go here. Let's put those.
You don't put these Trinidad boxes.
So it's that. It's just like that process, and it's just like it's a very, when people are on board with the same vision, and it's not and egos aren't involved, it's like that's when the beautiful stuff comes in. It's just like we're all here for the same reason, we're all doing the same thing, and we're all trying to make the best thing possible.
And bro, I've been on sets where like niggas are screaming, bro, and I'm like, yo, you don't need to talk to me.
No,
like,
you don't.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
You're making it worse.
I remember when we first did Judge Tycho, and Judge Tycho was like our first like official set, and it was still like us like wearing those hats to say, okay, this was going on, but we had help with a production team that we were putting that together with. But I just remember the vibe on set, and everyone kept coming up to us saying like, oh, like it was so nice, it was so chill, like this didn't feel like work. And I'm like, yeah, like that's what it feels like to us. Like when we film, it doesn't really feel like work. We know what we're doing it for, but that was the vibe that we're bringing it on. And I just remember like working on different sets and everyone's screaming, and I'm in the chip room and niggas are talking
Can't
crazy.
wait to go and shit like fucking 2 more hours.
Fuck this. I don't want that.
No,
at all,
you don't.
man.
You
Like,
don't. Yeah.
because it's just, again, that final product. You want everyone to be proud of it, as if it's like, you know what I mean, their baby, even if they're just like, even if they just catered the fucking show, you know what I mean, like to say, yo, I was here on the background, like that's what you want, man.
You want everybody that was involved in the show to be proud.
Literally.
You know, that's like the most special, like most fulfilling. That's like that's why you do it. It's like that's because there's some days that are hard. There's some days where you go overtime. People got to get home to their families. You know, like that's one thing I was like, I'm yeah, these guys have kids. Like, chill on the grind, bro. And I'm like, I'm ready to go, bro. And I'm like, no, I gotta realize like some of these people have a life. Like they have families.
You don't want them to hate you. So
Everybody got a life.
So you have to understand that, and then you have to like cater to that as well. So it's like you know you're gonna go over time. You know you're gonna, all these things are gonna happen. So it's like you don't want to create an environment where it's like shitty for anybody. It's like, yo, you take grateful. Take care of them and like bring them along in the process, and like and they're equally as a part of it. Like every single person, like every task had to have been there. Like the even like the smallest credits, like it's like the 1 second on frame, like that person was like so important.
Without them, we don't have that.
It wouldn't have that, man. We would have fallen apart. So like you have to realize you have to show your gratitude and appreciation for that. And like I just loved everybody that was in that show, and yeah, you just learn so much, and you can't allow for that energy to be in that space, especially if you're working on something that means so much to you, and like it's like, yo, this is a sacred piece of thing we're making to some degree, you know, like this means a lot to all of us. Why bring the energy of like, if you have a problem, if you have an issue, like let's figure it out. Let's find a solution. Let's try to move forward. And like we're all trying to do the same thing. So there's no need for that energy.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. I'm excited, man.
Yeah,
I'm excited, man.
Congrats, our brother.
Yeah,
what a journey, man.
What a fucking journey.
Like we watched all this go down from the outside, but like to see it as like a.
You guys were there. I kept you guys updated. You know, I told when I remember telling you the early version. I was like, yeah, I'm playing around with a couple titles. You know, this. As soon as I said late bloomer, I looked at JJ. It's like, yeah. That was one of the moments I was like, okay, like I got the approval from these guys. They know. I don't even think I explained what the show was about.
But you could just put it together to a
certain
certain
point.
point.
I was like, late bloomer.
That title attracts me. Like that's the type of TV show I like. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, you gotta. I mean, look, hey, shouts to you guys, man, for keeping me afloat.
Oh man, you already know, man.
Sunny Lane different.
These guys, Sunny Lane. Sometimes it gets too much. It gets crazy, but it's always good to have people to have these conversations with and like come to. So I'm very grateful to you guys as well.
Absolutely. Amen.